The Daily Dribble.
And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here back with the full squad for another massive installment. To my left, I've got Mr. Lee Hancock.
I'm back.
To my right, I've got Mr. Roy Hancock.
How we going?
Gentlemen, more to the question, how are you guys? What a week of basketball it's been. It's been action-packed from start to finish, both on and off the court. What a roller coaster of a week it's been in terms of the finals. Games being taken at home. Denver bouncing back there in game 3. It really has been an enthralling week.
Yeah, that's the word for it, isn't it? And it probably helped. I know we'll get into it shortly, but it probably helped that Miami did take one of those games on the road, and
Delighted to see that.
it's made it a really competitive series. Don't really know which way it's going to go as of yet, but plenty to look forward to.
And for yourself, Lee, enjoying it up to this point?
Yeah, a lot of surprises. That definitely proving the people wrong who said this was going to be a boring series, because it's
Shame on the naysayers.
after that game 2 win from Heat, it's far from boring.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
It's massive. A lot to get
Huge.
into then, guys. Before we do so, though, a big shout out to both Stadium Scene and The Cover. Those two entities, those two networks doing fantastic things for us, as well as a whole host of other content creators in and around Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. So very, very appreciative of all their continued hard work and support of our good work here at the Daily Dribble.
For sure.
Gentlemen, before we talk a bit of finals ball, I want to rattle through some quick odds and ends here. And we'll start first and foremost with a couple of points on the Phoenix Suns.
Yes.
Now, they've had a week. It started first with them signing a new head coach, Frank Vogel, to a 5-year, $31 million contract. He was a 2020 NBA champion there with the Lakers. Has a history of constructing high-level defenses, which is certainly going to be advantageous to the Suns there. We know the offensive firepower they've got, but on the defensive end, they're probably lacking a little bit. So a good acquisition, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it was the first name I thought of when particularly with all these other really good head coaches up for grabs, but I think that's a really solid acquisition for them, and hopefully it keeps them in and around the picture come the pointy end of next year. But yeah, really like it, to be honest with you.
Are you happy with this move as well, Lee?
I mean, I would have rather have Monty Williams still there over Frankie Vogel, but he's not a bad coach. He's a formidable coach. So
Mate, he's a championship-winning coach with the mighty purple and gold.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Don't let him forget.
Oh, but he's not the great. Like, would you rather him over Monty?
Who's won a championship?
Yeah, that's not my question. Would you rather him over Monty?
I'd rather Monty if I was to have one or the other.
I think so. Again, though, I think it really depends a little bit on the roster. Just as mentioned, I think on the defense, if you're trying to construct a better defensive identity, I would lean towards Frank Vogel. But if you're looking to like a player-first coach, a kind of real glue guy, you'd certainly look towards Monty Williams. But in other news, also accompanying him, they've hired David Fizdale as assistant coach. He was formerly an associate at the Jazz there. He's done quite a lot of head coaching roles in his own right, with the Knicks most notably, as well as the Grizzlies. What he'll bring is passion, unrivaled passion and enthusiasm. I quite like that. I think him and Frank Vogel together will be quite a formidable team. But yeah, good to see Fizz back in the coaching role.
Yeah, it's nice to see him back, isn't it? And you're right, he will bring that passion, and it's probably much needed as well, because it's a Suns team that at times this year have shown that they're a little bit sort of indifferent. They don't have the probably level of passion that they should. And Fizdale will push that. That'll be one of the main points of emphasis. High energy guy, as we know. We've seen him on the sidelines in the past, and he's an eye catcher, and it's probably what they do need.
Absolutely. And Lee, for yourself there, do you think, those two will make a good tandem?
Yeah, I think so. I'm happy to have Fizz back. Like, was he at Knicks last? Was that?
So he's just come off a role with the Jazz, associate GM.
Okay.
Before that, he was with the Grizzlies and the Knicks.
Yeah, because I remember when he was head coaching the Knicks, I think it felt like it was an eternity ago, like 2019, 2020. We were saying, like, he's a formidable coach. I feel like he won't have trouble getting another gig.
I love when he's mic'd up.
Oh,
he's great on the mic. Just that enthusiasm, it really shines through. And I'm a huge advocate of players, coaches, whoever it is being mic'd up. But when you've got a character like that, it just enhances the whole experience.
And the other thing that I'm just thinking now is it's a bit of yin and yang, isn't it, with
Oh, it
those
is.
two? Because we've got one really calming presence, probably quite level-headed.
Yep.
And we've got old Wizfizz over there, and he's probably the exact opposite, but he still provides what you need out of a coaching staff member. So, yeah, really good two acquisitions for the Suns.
Well, the third and final piece regarding the Suns was a bit of a bombshell dropped the other day that the Phoenix Suns had notified Chris Paul that he will be waived, making the 38-year-old one of the most popular free agents heading into the offseason. 38 years old, as I mentioned. He had a career low this season, 14 points a game, 9 assists, 4.3 rebounds, as well as a steal and a steal and a half, should I say, a game. He's going to be a man in demand, you'd think. And at the moment, the Lakers are the most likely front runner in that regard. Did you see this coming?
Not at all. But not that I have, but I feel like you need to look deeper as to why they've done this, because it was a shock. I saw somewhere, and I'm not sure that this is true, with the cap space and his contract ending, that somehow they saved 15 million in cap space, which, I mean, maybe you do that if you're going to save 15 million, but you need to look into it a bit more.
It does sound like it's true, and I wouldn't even rule out him signing back with the Phoenix Suns. There's been reports of that as well. And so I think he will no doubt join a contender. As you said, Nick, I think the Lakers teaming up with LeBron, who's a close mate of his, would be pretty likely, I would have thought. But if not, I certainly wouldn't rule out him re-signing back with the Phoenix Suns and just freeing a bit of that cap space.
I think it makes sense if they were to, hypothetically move on from him, just on the basis that now since KD's come in, with Booker and KD, like Chris Paul is a handle-the-ball point guard. He's one of the all-time greatest assisters. Is that a word?
Yep. Facilitators.
Facilitators. That's the one I wanted in NBA history. But when you've got guys like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant who want to hold the ball as well, it kind of nullifies a little bit of what he does. So I see, as well as his body's been breaking down a little bit the last few seasons. If they can save money, save cap space, and maybe tinker a little more around the edges, there's also talk Ayton might be on the move.
Yes.
Build around KD and Booker, put a squad around them. I think this is probably a good move. We saw it didn't quite work this season, and Chris Paul probably didn't get the ball enough that he needed to actually impact the game, as we've seen him in the past. So I think it kind of makes sense. But, if as a Lakers fan, I wouldn't mind seeing him head out west.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, how old is he now?
38.
38 now, still averaging 14 and 9. Yes, he's down on his usual career averages, but 14 and 9 at 38 years of age. I mean, if you're the Lakers, you would take that in a heartbeat.
But
I think there'll be,
But then again, just as you say that, I think to myself, I think it's this year. We'll have to pay him a little bit more, but I've quite liked what Dennis Schroeder's done this season.
He has been good, hasn't he?
Do we throw in to get an aging, kind of injury-riddled Chris Paul, or do we stick with that kind of more dynamic guard in Dennis Schroeder?
Would CP3 accept a bench role at the Lakers?
I think so.
I think so. At 38, you've got to know within yourself, and especially given this was probably his lowest season in terms of output.
Yep.
It happens to the best of them.
It does. Happened to Melo, who's one of the, what is he, top 10 scorers of all time?
Top 10 scorers in NBA history.
It just happens.
No one's exempt from a bench role.
No.
Apart from probably Michael Jordan and LeBron James. They're probably the only two.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
But big moves there out of the Suns this week. It'll be an interesting offseason for them coming up. In other coaching news, very quickly, former Houston Rockets head coach Stephen Silas has agreed to join the Detroit Pistons as a new assistant coach there under Monty Williams. Previously, he's been a top assistant with the Mavericks, Hornets, and Warriors prior to coaching the Rockets there. So, again, another real kind of player-first coach, which I think will be really good in nurturing these young guys along with Monty Williams. Again, another kind of player-first coach that they've got building in Detroit there. So, really good foundations being laid at the minute. They have been for the last few years. It kind of feels like this is the year, with where they could start to build up the standings a little more so.
I think so. In terms of coaches who are really good role models and really good people in general, those two are I mean, they're probably two of the better ones in the NBA, aren't they? Good catch of you, Mike. They're Nick, by the way. But
Done very well.
I think, as you were saying, for a young Detroit Pistons squad, these are the type of coaches that really help with their development, both as basketball players, but as people as well. So I think that's a really good appointment.
100%. Lee and yourself, good to see Stephen Silas. You know, he kind of got a rough rub of the green there, didn't he? You know, inheriting a Houston Rockets team that wasn't really intent on winning or in a position to win. Great to see him still, you know, find a position within the league there and, you know, on a really exciting up-and-coming team.
Exactly. And like you said, he's a players coach. He's an individuals coach. So he will, you know, path the way for these young guys. I like this signing.
And just quickly, you think of that story that Kevin Porter Jr. told, where he sort of almost turned his basketball trajectory around from a really unstable, immature type of player to sort of he's certainly heading in the right direction, and that's in no small part to Stephen Silas. So great appointment.
Sticking out east there with Julius Randle. Now, a player who's he's had he's a funny character, isn't he? You never quite know what you're going to get with Julius Randle, whether it's going to be all-star level Julius Randle, all-NBA Julius Randle, or if it's kind of a bit of a shit show, for a lack of better words. But he's just undergone arthroscopic surgery on his left ankle during the week. It's expected. It all went successful.
I think you got it the first time, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I did.
You're a perfectionist, though, Nick. We know this.
You're going to do a job, do it right. But he's expected to be in training camp later months. You know, he averaged this season 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. And with Brunson, those two kind of make up, I guess, the big two for the Knicks there. My question to you guys is, with those two as your big two and, you know, RJ Barrett kind of making up the three, how far can this team go? Do you think they're going to be any more than, you know, a first round team? Like with those guys at the helm.
I mean, we saw them make it to the second round this year, and they did have a really good
second round. Yeah, that's it. Should I say
really good regular season even this year? But they are another piece or something away from really competing. You know,
if you were the Knicks, then if you want to compete, do you stick? I think Brunson's probably a no-brainer.
Yep.
Is Randall the guy that you can foresee on your team helping get you to that next level, do you think?
Him and someone else. I think RJ Barrett is the guy you pack up and
really?
Yeah.
He was probably the best for them in their matchup against the Cavs there, and as well heading against the Heat. He was probably their most consistent performer along with Brunson.
I think they're another. I'm
a big RJ fan because I know we spoke about this when we went through. Who's what was it? Did we say
who's
the number
the guy
one or two?
On the Knicks?
Yeah. That didn't age too well, my pick of RJ Barrett, but
that's okay. That's fine.
They can't all be winners.
They can't, can they? But in terms of the Knicks and progressing forward, to be honest with you, I still think they're another, like, at least a star away. I don't think even like supporting pieces are enough to progress them too far.
Got one for you then.
Yeah, hit us.
Just there's been quite a lot of turmoil surrounding DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I don't know what a package would look like. No doubt some picks, probably Hartenstein quickly, you know, maybe Fournier filling in the cap space. D-Rose, absolutely. To get Ayton across, what do you think about that? Ayton on the Knicks with Julius Randle, Brunson, Barrett.
I don't mind that. I actually don't mind that, to be honest.
Well, you could even put in a package, maybe RJ Barrett.
He could be in it.
Not sure how he would fit on the Suns, given their roster construction at the moment with Durant and Booker. But could something like that, would that be exciting if you're a Knicks fan?
I don't think so. I'm not that high on DeAndre Ayton. I'm not high on anyone that doesn't put in as much effort as they should, and he doesn't. So
does he need a change of scenery? Sometimes that's what it takes to reinvigorate someone.
Perhaps, but I don't think DA is moving the needle too much.
Ro, do you agree, disagree with that?
Agree and disagree. So I agree from the standpoint that, like, DeAndre Ayton at the Phoenix Suns has disappointed me, to be perfectly honest, and I think he's probably built a bit of a reputation so far in his career that he probably doesn't want it enough. But in saying that, I personally think that a change of scenery might be enough to sort of reinvigorate his career. He's always been pretty solid from a statistical point of view, but perhaps coming to a different franchise, fresh start, gets a bit more chance to assert himself. Yeah, new conference as well. I think it might be enough to sort of freshen things up for him. And to be honest, I don't mind it because we've seen holes in Mitchell Robinson at that centre position. And we could go on for a little while about that.
Him and Isaiah Hartenstein together there. They are not the big man duo that's going to get you any further than the second round.
No,
that's just 100%. Not it.
And when you look at their squad as well, that is probably the position, like the big man stocks, that needs a bit of work. So DeAndre Ayton, who's already looking, I would say he's not going to be at the Phoenix Suns next season if I was to make my prediction. And who knows, New York might be a good suitor.
Just spitballing off the top of the head there,
it's
Lee.
Not a bad one.
Lee, just for yourself, would you prefer in New York Ayton or Nurkic?
Oh, I'd still go Ayton.
You'd go for a cheaper price, Nurkic, so you could probably keep a few more pieces there intact. You'd go with Ayton though.
I'd go with Ayton, but then you look at the Suns and you get rid of Ayton, and then they're missing a big man. You know, then
they'd have to have like either Hartenstein or Mitch Robinson in return as like.
But even that,
can you small ball 5? Jock Landale, straight into starting minutes. They've got Biyombo still as well.
He's shown bits and pieces, hasn't he?
Not Jock. No.
Wow. You see, this is coming from an NBL fan.
Yes.
I do like Jock, but like, don't put him in the starting.
He looked good. He got good minutes there, but nevertheless, we'll push ahead, lads. Okay. I've got a congratulations followed by then. We'll just go with it. A big congratulations goes out to Zion Williamson and his girlfriend. The other day, a big congrats to Zion. They announced the other day that they are expecting a daughter.
Yes.
Which is fantastic news. And at that point, I put this in my notes. I was like, great stuff.
Yes.
Hopefully this has the Fred VanVleet effect.
Good news story.
Gets him on the court, gets him fit and firing and healthy and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Drama was sure to follow only less than 24 hours later. When another chick called out Zion on Twitter, I'm gonna quote this here with leaving out some words.
Don't need to quote it.
No, just for anyone who didn't see it, they need the full picture.
Yep.
So this other chick's called out Zion on Twitter. She's gone with, I let you spit in my mouth last week when I'll get rid of the expletive, when we bumped. You could have told me you had another whore pregnant. How is that going to work moving us both to New Orleans?
I thought you were going to
what happened with the beats?
You think I would have found out at Zion Williamson?
Oh, no.
I went from, as I put it in, a really feel good story. Good on you, Zion, little baby daddy. Let's go. It's serious, but I just absolutely was in hysterics when I saw this. Like that first line. I let you spit in my mouth last week, and now he's got a kid coming out. Like, I would not want to be in that man's shoes right now.
Man, he's in all sorts of trouble, isn't he?
Like, what would you be thinking? Would you be like, okay, I'm going to be like a bear. I'm going to go into hibernation, pull my head over the covers and pretend this isn't happening for the minute?
Go into zero dark 30 mode.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or do you go, bang, let's get this on the offensive and, try and put the situation on my terms? Which way would you go if you're Zion at the minute?
You listen to your PR manager. That's what you do.
But that's what you're paying the big bucks for.
But you don't. I don't think you reply. God, it just shows some of the lives these NBA players live, like just completely different and completely otherworldly to ours. And you're like, how does that happen?
But can I just say, I saw something from that draft class. Was it 2020? I believe that Zion. Zion, the number 1 pick, having these troubles, injury troubles. Ja Morant, having all his troubles go on that are continuing to evolve. The 3rd overall pick, RJ Barrett, going solid. So
I saw the same thing, and it said he's going mid.
He's on the court. He's out of trouble. He's doing good things, finding some consistency. So I just wanted to.
Is there something with like these millennials that?
It's outrageous, isn't it? Like we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, LeBron and everything he's done over his career in terms of, kind of walking the fine line that he's had to and doing it to a T. But these young whippersnappers, Biggie said it best: more money, more problems.
Absolutely.
So do not envy Zion right now. Hopefully he can get it sorted. Get into dad mode, get better at changing diapers, and hopefully get better at staying on court. We'd love to see him.
We can probably expect a dad bod from Zion going forward. What do we reckon?
How dissimilar is that to what he's rocking at the minute, would you say? Do you reckon he maybe with that he almost loses a few pounds?
He might turn into the second coming of Shaq in his Boston days.
Goodness, that is a worrying proposition for the rest of the league there. Brilliant, lads. Let's push ahead.
Daily Dribble.
Okay, into a bit of finals talk here. As we said, we are now into it. We had during the week games 2 and yesterday games 3. We'll quickly rattle through them and then give our thoughts on how it's all playing out. Any updated predictions maybe, and we'll take it from there. So, earlier in the week, game 2, the Heat won this one 111-108. They're in Denver. Murray had 18 points, 10 assists. Jokic with 41 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, having some series at the minute. Gabe Vincent had 23 points, whilst Bam dropped 21 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks, whilst Jimmy Butler had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists. A real back and forth game, this one. And, as they've done all season long, the fourth quarter is when the Heat take over. They've made a real habit of it. They outscored Denver by 11 in this one to clutch up, get a huge road win. And at that point, you start thinking to yourself, 1-1, they got the road win. This series has got a lot more in it than what people actually expected. So great to see that. Put up a post the other day. Guys, if you're not already following our socials, be sure to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, at The Daily Dribble. Put up a post just describing the Heat and their point differential throughout their playoff runs up to that game 2. In the first quarter, across their whole postseason run, they're outscored by 1 point. In the second quarter, they're outscored by oppositions by 11 points. The third quarter, outscored by 12 points as a whole. In the fourth quarter, as a combined total, they've outscored teams by 90 points.
That is such an enormous stat. I saw you post this throughout the week, Nick, and I was not aware of this. And that is a damning stat. And what does that come down to, though? Does that come down to...
You know what it is, Roy.
What is
it, Lee?
Consistency.
The culture.
No. Culture. It is Heat culture, and it's as much as we joke and we laugh, it truly is. It is that mentality that they believe they can come back.
So it is a mental thing. So that was what my question was going to be. Is it a mentality thing, or is it more so almost like an endurance thing? They can battle it out all the way. Yeah.
They are animals. They are absolute dogs. They fight to the last minute. And, as I saw this stat, I was like, this is just outrageous. You don't see that very often. Outscored the first 3 quarters, but then just absolutely ramming it home in the fourth quarter. Nobody. If you say you did, you're lying. If you picked the Heat to make the NBA Finals, there was no chance. But they have really done it off the back of teamwork, really good shooting, and that drive to play to the last whistle.
And having those leaders who lead by example in such a... It's so emphatic, isn't it? The leadership on that team. And we saw it throughout that Miami Celtics series. Even when the Celtics were clawing it back, the Heat were on record saying, we're going to win this series. I don't care if it takes 6-7 games. We're going to win this series. And I think it's just the self-belief in themselves that even if they're down by, 10 to 15 at the end of the third quarter, they've got enough in the tank. They've got the self-belief. They've done it enough times in the past to be able to come back again. And
muscle memory, isn't it now?
That stat's just enormous.
Muscle memory. They've done it so many times that it's almost a habit. They know that if they are in that position, they can come back. It was the team's first win in Denver since 2016. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, a little bit of trivia. I'm hoping you didn't see it. The last time they won in Denver, this squad looked very, very different. Can you name me 2 out of the 5 starters that were part of the Miami Heat squad in this 2016 matchup against Denver?
Oh, the Miami Heat squad
that beat the Denver Nuggets 2016. It's a tough list.
Is there any
notable names on that list?
There's 2 that you could get. I think he was most recently with the Toronto Raptors, one of them. Currently, or he might have gone to the Mavs after as well. Currently not playing in the league.
Oh, I don't know.
God, Hassan Whiteside.
Hassan Whiteside, Lee, ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding, you've got one.
Yes.
Oh, that will kickstart me.
And
right there.
another player on that heat list.
You've got one, do you, right?
What, Udonis?
No, well, not in the starting
Not in the
five, should I
start.
say? In
No,
the starting
I thought it
five.
was-
Let me
Oh,
get
sorry.
the. Oh God.
He's okay. There's one who's gone to the Pistons. Hot Rod.
Rod.
I don't think that's an actual nickname, but it's a handy clue.
Rod.
Yes.
Rodney.
Go on.
Stuck.
Hood.
No.
Stuck.
Rodney McGruger.
Rodney Magruder.
Oh, okay.
The other three lads, because it's a tough list.
Oh, gee.
So it was Goran Dragic, Rodney Magruder, Luke Babbitt,
Oh, no.
Josh McRoberts, and Hassan Whiteside.
That is a forgettable starting five if ever I've heard one.
Like I love it as a Lakers fan. I love it when you see some of the squads that were going on through, the early part of the 2010s, and it's like, you're a real Lakers fan if you stuck through this time. You're a real Heat fan if you were able to endure that. That is an outrageous starting five.
I would hate to see who was coming off the bench if that was a starting five.
Goodness only knows how they won.
Was that 2016 you were mentioning?
2016.
Oh, how they have fallen from grace after LeBron and Bosch left that.
And it brings the question, doesn't it? Building the super team. Yep, cool. It's good in the that period, but once things fall apart and those pieces move on, you're left in a deep dark hole that does take a little bit of time to come back from. So
on this game, I want to talk a bit about how the Heat shut down Jokic. How they shut down the Nuggets. So they played a gritty, pressurized defense, the Heat did, and they forced Jokic to score. He dropped 41 on them and only 4 assists, which was quite the comparison to what we saw in game one, where in game one, from my perspective, Jokic was playing effortlessly and he looked so comfortable. This game, I don't want to say that he tried, because obviously in the NBA Finals, you're trying every game, but his options to positively affect the game and affect his team were definitely limited. And then it brings us to that question that Spo got a bit heated by the question in the post-game press conference. Someone asked, was there a blueprint to stopping Jokic hinging on Miami, turning him into a scorer rather than a distributor? And I just wanted to ask you whether you think there was any validity and any truth behind that. While they may not have had the blueprint, like it's a valid question.
It is. And I think, going into the series, we might have said it might have been an episode we ran together, right? Maybe. Can't quite remember.
I remember, because I remember what you're going to say.
And it was a point around let him try and score 40, 50 points a night. And it's often the case in the NBA if there's a superstar. If they want to try and score every single point, let them do it. They're not going to be able to score 100, 110 points on their own.
Nope.
If you can shut down the other 4 players on the court, happy days. And that's what they did with Jokic. I thought they played a phenomenal game. They made their shots. Jamal Murray had a chance at the end there with a 3 to tie it. Didn't go down, unfortunately. But I thought the way they played defensively and with that zone, it kind of caused quite a lot of headaches for the Nuggets there. So a real impressive performance, I thought.
I was looking into it a bit more and thinking, why can't these role players perform when Jokic is a scorer? Is the lack of involvement, does that lessen their concentration on defense? Does it make them rush their shots when they finally get the opportunity to get one? I was having a good time thinking about why this dampened them.
I think it's just because Jokic is such an incredible playmaker. Like, he is honestly in all time one of the best big man facilitators. There we go. There you go. Good stuff. Facilitators of all time. And the way he can unpick defenses, it gives his teammates so many open shots and so many good looks. When you don't have a guy like that distributing, Murray can handle the rock. Gordon has displayed a little bit of playmaking in the finals so far, but it's not a natural thing for him. Likewise, KCP's in a similar boat there. He's the guy, Jokic. He's the guy who's dishing dimes and finding these open, because players gravitate to him. He normally commands a double team. He's able to find the open man. Because they slackened off him a little bit. it forced him to have to shoot all the time. I thought it was a really, really well done job by the Heat.
I have a stat actually, just that I want to rattle off real quick. Nuggets were 14-2 during the regular season when Jokic attempted 10 or fewer shots. They were 7-13 when he recorded 8 or fewer assists.
Yep.
And Jokic is 0-4 in playoff games where he scored at least 40 or more than 40. So, Spo, if you think this is a ridiculous question, and I'm sure he's looking into this, but if you're not looking into those kind of stats, take it from me. Look into it.
Reliable source.
There you go. You're a reliable source if ever I've heard one. We transitioned to game 3 that tipped off yesterday. The Nuggets won this one in Miami, 109-94. Bam had 22 points, 17 rebounds, whilst Jimmy chimed in with 28 points and 4 assists. Christian Brown had 15 points on 7 of 8 shooting off the bench. But it was the Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic show. Murray had 34 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, whilst Jokic had 32 points, 21 rebounds, 10 assists. It was a real back and forth contest throughout the first half before the Nuggets just put the foot down, had a commanding third quarter, winning that one 29-20, really set themselves up for the victory. History was made, though, as Murray and Jokic became the first teammates in history to record 30-point triple-doubles themselves in the same game, whilst Jokic became the first player in NBA history to record a 30, 20, and 10 line in the NBA Finals. Incredible stuff. And it's, we say it about LeBron. There's a few players, Steph Curry as well. Records are made to be broken. And these players are just clocking them up like it's nothing.
Yes,
it's kind of like Russ with his triple doubles.
Yeah.
Because it becomes such a common occurrence that they're breaking records, it's almost underdone what incredible achievements they are.
It's overlooked. Yeah,
he's ridiculous, and congratulations, Joel Embiid. Well done, MVP. This guy should have been the MVP, I believe.
Yeah.
He's an absolute superstar. Should be a triple-time MVP, I think.
I'm with you as well. And it was a strange game, though, I thought, because it was competitive by the Heat, but it was mainly won in that third quarter, wasn't it? So
it was.
As much as you look at the 109-94 scoreline at the end, there was a 15-point differential in that second and third quarter combined. And if you take that out of it, the Heat start to look like the Heat could have been up 2-1 in this series with another game to come at home as well. So I think we shouldn't look too much into the 15-point deficit, but, commanding win by the Denver Nuggets. And where do we see this series going from here? 2-1 up, Heat got one at home, away rather, and Denver have got this first one in Miami. Where do we see it going?
Game 4 tips off tomorrow. Here recording Friday night. Game 4 tips off Saturday here, Australian time. For me, the key for the Heat, their recipe success, as it has been throughout the playoffs, is making threes.
Yeah.
And for me, a big part of that is Max Strus, also known as Jekyll and Hyde. My man here is just he's the epitome of the Chris Middleton fairy what's it called?
Ferris wheel. The roller coaster, Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel, yeah, a fairy wheel. Ferris wheel. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get with him at the minute. Game 1, he had 0 points on 0 of 10 shooting, 0 of 9 from 3. Game 2, 14 points, 6 assists, 4 of 10 from 3. Yep, you'll take that.
Respectable.
Game 3, 3 points, 1 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. He's a huge swing piece for me at the moment. And as I said, Gabe Vincent's making threes, Caleb Martin, even Jimmy's knocking down some threes, Duncan Robinson coming off the bench. He's a huge swing piece for them. If the Heat are going to win, they need to make threes, and he's one of their best.
And particularly with Tyler Herro out at the moment as well, they're short a guy who can knock them down quite consistently. And Max Strus has to be that guy, looking at that current squad, who can knock them down at a consistent rate.
That game was tragic.
It was shocking to watch.
0 and 9 from 3. That is just horrendous. And to be honest, they were in that game. They mounted a fight back. They
did.
Could have potentially pinched game 1 if he wasn't Like, my man's got his own house built with the bricks he laid in that game.
Didn't he?
If we stick to the trend, he's due to, have a good game this game 4. So,
And that's the thing. He's a real Jekyll and Hyde. It changes. He's flipping a switch at the minute. So for me, that's the piece I think that needs that could swing this series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you as well. And the other thing, as we saw in that game 2 where Miami got that win, was that Jokic wasn't able to facilitate as much. And we spoke about it earlier. And I think that could also be a heavy contributor in Miami winning a few more games in this series and getting in a commanding position, is shutting down that aspect of Jokic's game. We've already seen that how important that is for them to get the win. So I think if they can get on top of that, we know Jokic is going to probably have 30.
He's going to eat
30 and 10 at the minimum. But in terms of facilitating, shut him down a little bit and see what happens, because I think that might be a little bit of a important factor.
What happens tomorrow then, lads? Game 4 in Miami there. Lee, do the Heat bounce back? Do they get one at home and tie this up at 2 each?
It didn't sound promising.
Let me start by saying I want them to start K-Love like they did in game 2, because
they've got to for size.
They've got to for size.
They have to.
And just finals experience as well.
Finals experience. It made Jimmy Butler switch on to Jamal Murray, which, you'd rather Jimmy Butler on him. It does just come down to the role players. Like game 3, role players on both teams had a shocker. Both, Michael Porter Jr. Shot poorly.
KCP struggled.
Christian
Brown, though,
he was the
X factor.
So I think it is going to come down to which of these role players perform better, and also on the back of Jokic and Jamal Murray, their last game, that historic duo game. I think they're going to be too hard to beat. I think Miami will probably clinch another one, but Nuggets will close it out.
Will they get it done tomorrow, the Heat?
I'm going to say yes, because if the trajectory is true, Max Strus is in for a good game. And with Tyler Hero, it's pretty smart what the Heat are doing, because they're saying, we think he's going to come back next game. So Denver Nuggets have to prepare for that, and they would be preparing for that. And then he doesn't.
Worried about Hero though? You reckon? Really?
I mean, you prepare for him.
Would you?
Yep.
Is he? It's not like Kevin Durant that is an out and out superstar you need to prepare for. Would you be like, he's essentially doing what Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent are doing, coming out and hitting threes? The only thing regarding Martin and Vincent is they're better defenders. Like, would you be worried about him? Would you be plotting for him, do you reckon?
A little bit.
Just enough to know he's there.
Yeah, he's a weapon on the offensive end, but from a overall perspective, I don't think you're putting that much time into it. Yeah.
What about you, Ro, then? Do you think they get it done tomorrow? The Heat tied up at 2 apiece, heading back to Denver? Or is it 3-1 and essentially curtains from there, you would think?
It would be curtains. I think they get this next one, Miami. I think I had the Denver Nuggets in about 6 in this series, and that would mean that Miami would have to win this next one, because I don't see them winning another game in Denver. So I think they will have to win this next one to have any shot. As Lee was saying, there's a few role players that need to step up, and that could be the determining factor. You can't rely on Jimmy alone to win this series.
We haven't had like a 40-point Jimmy performance yet.
No.
Do you think he's got it in him, or is he?
Oh yeah.
Does he, or
he
is
does.
he like? Are the Nuggets too good? Are they? Is Jimmy starting to kind of run out of petrol tickets a little bit here?
Here's my little prediction. I think we'll see a 40-point game from Jimmy before this series is over. Even if it's a loss, even if the Miami Heat lose the finals, I think something will click in Jimmy's mind to go almost into takeover mode. You know how I know that different kettle of fish, but LeBron, and he sometimes just realizes, okay, I'm going to have to do it on my own here.
Going to die on his sword, isn't he?
I think so. And I think Jimmy might have at least one of those games where he just goes absolutely bananas and 40-piece.
As a neutral fan, I'm absolutely rooting for the Heat tomorrow. I certainly hope they get up. Series well and truly on at 2 apiece. I think they do as well.
Yep.
They've struggled at home. They struggled against the Celtics at home. But I think I think they've got one in them. I think the crowd will be rocking. I think the boys will be pumped up. I'm predicting the Heat tomorrow. The question I want to ask you both before we move on is if this series goes to, let's say, 7 games and the Heat pull it out, given the way things are currently progressing, even in a losing battle, could Jokic win Finals MVP? Would he be the favourite, do you think? If they lose in Game 7, the way things are looking at the minute, would he be your favourite?
He'd need to have out.
Just based on
if they lost?
I think he's averaging at the minute. I think it's like 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. If he averaged that throughout the course of the playoffs, even losing Game 7, do you reckon he would get Finals MVP?
So here's the thing. There's something about a player from a losing team in a final of any sport, so whether it be basketball or we know in the AFL we have the Norm Smith medal in the grand final.
Yep.
There's something about a player in a losing team winning that I'm not really a fan of.
Even if he was the best player, the most influential player.
So here's the thing. I think if it was anyone from a losing team, I think Nikola Jokic would have to deserve it. I think he's probably stiff not to win that third MVP award this season. And you just read out those stats before. They're incredible numbers.
Incredible.
And even if they lose this series, the Denver Nuggets, which I'm not expecting them to, it's not going to be on the back of Nikola Jokic, and he'll be doing everything in his power to prevent that from happening. So if he won that, I'd be more than happy with that.
It's only been 3 games thus far. There's still plenty of things to play out if that were to eventuate, but there's no one that you could feasibly see on the Heat at the minute that would take it away. There's been no superstar standout performances. Bam has been really solid. Jimmy's been solid without being incredible. It's a fascinating little storyline to it. If the Nuggets win, for as good as Murray's been, unequivocally, I think it'll be probably unanimous that Jokic gets it.
Yep.
But exciting nevertheless.
So the last person who did win it and on a losing team, and the only person was Jerry West in 1969. So
absolutely.
But in saying that, from 1969 to 2023, there's no one that I would pick to win the Finals MVP on a losing team more
LeBron
than
against against the Warriors in, was it 20? Forgive me, was it 2017?
But they had their clear. The Warriors had their clear players of they could pick who could win Finals MVP because they had so many outstanding players.
Well, that year Iguodala won it. Probably could have been LeBron.
Oh gosh, should have been Steph or something. But I don't think it will happen.
I think that just goes to show that the voters, unless there's someone who's just clear standout on the losing team, I think they like to give it to someone on the winning team. I think so. But yeah, Jokic is capable of winning it regardless if they win or lose.
Exciting to see how that plays out, lads. As to is the rest of the NBA Finals. Couple of games still to go. As I said, Game 4 tipping off tomorrow. By the time a lot of you guys listen to this, Game 4 will have come and gone. But certainly looking forward to seeing how the rest of the series plays out. Lads, let's push ahead.
The Daily Dribble.
Okay, into a segment we dubbed last week New Blood. We had our first installment last week where we each kind of have selected a draft prospect upcoming. The NBA draft only a couple of weeks away now.
Sure. We're
giving a bit of a scouting report and shining a bit of a light on players other than Victor Wembanyama. Getting you guys, the league's a lot more exciting. It's a lot more exciting, the draft, when you know a little bit more about these players.
Yep.
So we're just hoping to shed some light on this, as well as, upskilling ourselves a little bit here.
And there's a little bit of bragging, right?
So it is. Bloody oath it is.
Once the next season rolls around and we go, I recommended that guy. I think there's a little bit of,
oh, mate,
I'm Nostradamus here or something.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, last week we went through, we were very fortunate. We all selected different players. We're hoping that trend will continue tonight, but let's see how we go. Who wants to kickstart us?
I'll go.
That's the spirit.
My guy is Grady Dick.
Yeah, I was looking. I was like, I bet someone's definitely going to pick it. The name is too hard to escape.
I think so, and he's been given a lot of hype, but I think rightly so as well.
For a name like that.
I can't even.
Grady Dick.
Yeah, I can't I can't really talk, and neither can Lee with the old surname. It's we've copped our fair share over the time, I think.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, poor Grady Dick, but no, he's going to be my pick this week. 6'8", small forward out of Kansas. Averaged 14 and 5 in the 22-23 season for them, and he was a really handy contributor for the Kansas Jayhawks. They went 22 and 8 and fell short in the NCAA championships, but he was a really heavily contributor towards their season. He's really primarily known for his catch and shoot 3-pointers. He set the record for Kansas as a freshman with 83 3-pointers in that season. So
that's a good clip. So how many games? What did you say? It was 20 and 8?
22 and 8 for the Kansas Jayhawks.
30 games. Well, he's going about 3 games. That's a nice consistent average.
Nice clip, and 40% at that clip as well. So he's knocking them down regularly. But he's also quite dynamic in the way that he can find points. He's known for that 3-point shooting, but if you look at his highlights, he's a very smart player. He seems to find the right spots and run the right lanes, and he's got sort of like sneaky athleticism when it comes to making his way to the rim and finding a way.
Pace, but just kind of crafty, is it? Like
I think so. Yeah, he is. Like when you look at his highlights, he's knocking down some really tricky sort of like acrobatic layups, which not many guys I don't reckon can knock down. So I think he can find his shot, which will be really important in the NBA. And also his IQ seems to be really high, and it probably does come back down to, as I said before, his ability to find the correct spots to, assist him with getting a good shot off. So I think he's going to be really. It'll be a really valuable contributor in his first year, I think. I don't think he's going to be one of these guys who will take a little while to get going. If he gets regular game time, I think he'll show enough to really catch people's attention.
Where's he projecting?
So he's projecting around the 8 to 12 mark from what I can see in the mock drafts.
Yep.
And I think some people are hoping he goes, well, particularly, I guess, Orlando Magic fans are hoping he goes to Orlando because we know how their woes from behind the 3-point arc were last season. They were among the worst in the league, and he will contribute significantly in improving that. So that's a spot that he might end up.
Do you reckon he might get dubbed if he, on the live calls, if he, a couple of mistakes, a couple of boneheaded plays, he'll get the Grady dickhead call? Do you reckon they might call it that?
No,
might catch
I don't
on?
think Americans say that.
Dickhead, it's very Australian, you reckon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That might be just us calling him that.
I've heard comparisons to Reggie Miller, White Reggie.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. And
wow,
I've also heard that we know Reggie was super competitive, could knock it down from the 3-point arc. Obviously, one of the best 3-point shooters of all time.
Amen.
This is the thing that's overlooked from him, is the fact that he is such a dog on the court and he's so competitive, wants to win, which I think will attract a lot of NBA teams. So as soon as a team can pick him probably around that 8 to 12 mark, I reckon he'll be off the board. And I'll just show you a picture of him. I might put it up on the video format.
Please.
What do we reckon of his ESPN picture? He's in a suit. He looks like a pure kid, doesn't he?
If you're not following our TikToks, it was, I think, sometime last season or this season, Bro put up his All NBA accountant team.
He would make it for sure.
Just the poster boy for it.
Yeah, hasn't played a game, but would make that team in a heartbeat.
Grady Dick.
Yes. So,
wow,
he could be that babyface assassin.
He
doesn't look like he's going to be like a bowler just from, I guess, above the shoulders. But
Austin Reeves spec.
Yeah, I think so. So he's certainly one to look out for. You'll remember the name, surely.
My mind is just racing at the minute with all the potential long calls and the way you could go.
Yes.
There's a lot of ways you could go with it. I think it's exciting.
Me too.
Yeah. What a name. What a name that will catch on like wildfire.
For sure.
I might go next.
Good.
I've got here Cason Wallace. He's a 6-foot guard from Kentucky. Last season, he averaged 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals a game. going at 34.5% from three. He's getting player comparisons to Drew Holiday.
Oh,
now
like that.
The term "jack of all trades, master of none" that sums him up perfectly. He's certainly not elite at everything, but he impacts the game in so many various ways. He's projected to go around the 15th mark. A big part of why he's projected to go, I guess, this high is to his defensive upside. He's regarded as one of, if not the best defenders in this class, especially on ball. Offensively, he's a combo guard. He's proven to be effective on and off the ball. He goes at a decent clip from three, but this is an area probably once he gets into a couple of training camps and things like that. 34.5% in college. If you could get him up to a 36%, 37% in the NBA, you'd be absolutely delighted. But his jumper's quite quick, fluid, and consistent, which is what I like. His actual mechanics are what stood out. Like he's got a really good rhythm to it. Now, if you're from Australia, an AFL fan, bro, we've spoken about it quite a lot lately. I'm a Carlton fan. Harry Mackay is a reigning Coleman medalist, meaning for all of our American listeners, he kicked the most goals in the season. Watching his action, it changes each time he kicks it.
Very unpredictable.
Very unpredictable, very erratic. But with Case and Wallace, that's what stood out, just that consistency and, as I said, fluidity there. So really excited about what he has to offer on both ends of the floor. In terms of downside, he doesn't take a lot of difficult threes, which meaning he prefers to be square.
Yeah.
In the NBA, he's not going to get that much time, that much freedom, that much space. So I think these type of shots that he's actually after, that he normally takes, are going to be a lot harder to come by. So again, once he gets into training camp and has a little bit more pressure at an NBA level, hopefully he refines this. But that's one thing from reading the scouting reports and just looking at the threes he takes that has stood out thus far from me.
From what I've heard, about this guy, you don't want to judge a book by his cover because you brushed over it pretty quickly, and I'll bring it up again. 6 foot, you said, and touted as one of the best.
6'4".
Oh God, I thought you said 6 foot.
6'4".
Oh, I might be thinking of someone else, but no. Do you reckon his game will translate over to the NBA well?
I think so, and from everything I've read and just from reading a lot of interviews and hearing things, he's the ultimate competitor. He's a guy that makes everyone around him better, even if he's not showing up necessarily as big in the box scores. His kind of drive and willingness and want to win, it'll permeate through squads. It'll just he'll be kind of a real almost tone setter. So I'm really excited just to see. It might not show up in the box scores, but as a contributor on a team, especially a young team, I think, like if he went to the Magic, hypothetically, I think he would really be able to stabilize this team and bring the best out in everyone, especially those young players they've got. So I'm really excited to see what Case and Wallace can do. 6'4", Lee.
6'4", not 6'4".
4 inches is a hell of a lot, depending on who you ask.
There is someone in the draft that is very small, but touted as one of the best defenders. Maybe I'll touch on him next week.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
There's something to look forward to. A little bit of a tease.
Just quickly before Lee goes on, like as much as these scouts love a guy who can fill up the box score, and from a statistical point of view, they look like they're going to be a valuable contributor to your team when they hit the NBA. There's something to be said, I think, also about these guys who are competitive and the guys who have that passion and want to win, because I feel like even if you can fill up the stat sheet, but your mental game is not where it should be, I think it ultimately doesn't really work out once you hit the big league. So I think particularly those guys who have got that in place already before they even hit the league, that's a huge advantage.
We know this, like in any professional sport, and we've spoken about it, I think, a little while ago. Any professional sport, doesn't matter which one you choose. If you're playing, say, in the NBA, you're in the top 99.99% of all basketball players in the world. That 0.01 is purely mental. There's not a lot of physical to it. If you've made it that far, it's based on your output, your work ethic, everything like that. That's the separating factor. So, there's a lot to be said about it. Lee, bring us home strong, my friend.
Mine guy is Nick Smith Jr. Have we heard of him?
No, strong name though.
No, he's
Nick with a K or Nick with a C?
both. Nick with both. CK.
Oh.
Oh, Nick's not a huge fan of him then.
Yeah,
He's 19 years old, out of Arkansas, the same team as my guy last week, Anthony Black. So I may as well rattle off the whole team at this point. But
And they both sound like accountants.
yeah,
they do.
Why stop now, Lee? You're
He's looking to go mid to late first round.
Yep.
He's a slippery scorer who can really get to his spot and get any shot he wants. And what caught my eye at first was how tight his handle was and how impressive his handles are. He's one of those guys that they'll do a hesitation move or they'll do a hang dribble, and it's just one of those ones, especially the hezzies, you're like, oh, because the hezzies are so disgusting.
To be honest, as Lee was going then, I was waiting for that. Like, I just knew it was coming. I was like, oh, I wonder.
Like,
he didn't disappoint.
With this guy, he'll do a hezzy and like pull out. Like, I can see a lot of ankles being torn in half.
Is it kind of Kyrie Irving kind of spec, just with that tight handle, getting to his spot, the hezzy, just the ability to break defenders off the dribble? Is it kind of?
It's very hard to compare anyone to Kyrie's handles because he's a wizard, that guy. But
generational.
If anyone in the draft class, I'd compare him to his handles, be probably Kyrie.
Yeah, nice.
He's a crafty finisher. He likes to get to the bucket. He's one of those guys, and it doesn't really matter if he's left or right handed because he's so ambidextrous that he can really shoot with either hand. He's shown flashes of playmaking, but he's unlikely to be the lead playmaker, but he's a good backup option. But then we get to his downfalls. He's a string bean. Strength is his weakness and strength is his limitation.
How big did you say he was?
I think he's about 6'4".
Yeah,
but,
cool.
But he's pretty skinny, so he needs to bulk up a bit and he'll have a bit more confidence. But I think he'll be on a couple of highlight reels, this guy.
Oh, look, if the main weakness is the fact that he's a string bean, I think that's a good thing because not many guys that age really have built themselves into NBA shape unless you're Zion or
like Bloomer. He might have just come out of hitting puberty.
Exactly right. I'm sure he'll get a few more kegs on by the time his NBA playing days are out. And
well, it's the same with Chet Holmgren. There was pictures released earlier today of him putting on a bit of muscle. You know, he's had the season off.
Yep.
He's still quite slim, but he's put on a considerable amount of muscle.
That Ben Simmons one, where was that picture from? Because
now
that did not look. Who put that up?
That was
me.
That did not look. That
and we got
someone
got called out for
someone
it.
accused us of editing that picture. I didn't edit it. I just saved it straight off Twitter, the most reliable source there is. So it has to be real.
Who was the source?
I don't know. Some random.
Because it looked. He looked at.
I backed it too. I thought, Rowe wouldn't have put up something fake. I replied to this guy and.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if it's real or not. It did look like he was on the roids, but who knows? It certainly wasn't Shams or Woj reposting that one, so it could be questionable.
He called us out and he said, "Why'd you all edit that?"
It's a fair point, Ross. What is it?
Bosco.
It's a fair point because it didn't look realistic, but I don't know. It got a bit of an engagement, which is the least. Which is the
that's the main point. There's clickbait at its finest.
Yeah,
that's what we do here. But a very exciting play there, I think, Lee. And someone. There's nothing better. We love flashy dunks. We love threes, but someone with a tight handle. That's a real spectacle. It's mesmerizing watching Kyrie. If there's a little Kyrie 2.0, little Kyrie Jr. here. Very exciting.
I look at him and not that this guy's an all-out superstar player. He's actually a pretty undermined role player, but Emmanuel quickly, just the way he can navigate around the basket and his float game. I see glimpses of him in Nick Smith Jr.
There you go. If he's going in that later first round, that'd be a very tidy pickup for any team out there.
For sure.
Gentlemen, there's another 3 players done and dusted. I think probably next week will be our last installment prior to the draft. But again, a great little activity just to showcase some of the other notable players that we're going to be seeing in the league next season. It's coming around quickly. We're still in the latter stages of this season, but the anticipation for next season is already it's continuing to build already.
No doubt.
As 24/7, 365, the NBA theme park is constantly open, even on Sundays. So a lot to look forward to, lads. Likewise, the NBA Finals. As I said, Game 4 coming tomorrow. We will keep you updated with all the news, all the results, all the fallout of that one. So be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you're watching this one on YouTube, subscribe so as to never miss another episode. Well, as checking out all of our socials, Lee. Where are they at?
Oh, we're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn.
Facebook,
LinkedIn probably
YouTube.
should be 4.
Mate, the whole lot, we are there. So, guys, be sure to check them all out. We are very appreciative of all your continued support. From myself, from Ro, from Lee, from the entire Daily Dribble team. Guys, have a great week. Enjoy the NBA Finals. And we can't wait to break it all down again next week with you. Till then, see ya.